only called on the PUD zoning,
Okay.
and so that's why they're.
We're going to stay with that, or
I don't know if that their name on the subdivision.
just so we know what it is, right?
They got a favorable recommendation.
7, we're going to go ahead and start.
Okay.
Ah, that works. It's 7 o'clock. We'll go ahead and stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance, and start the meeting, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. A roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Here.
Brad Godecker,
Here.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Here?
Richard Hitch,
Here.
Joe Saylor.
Here.
Everyone's here. We have a quorum.
Carmen or Slim, would you care to do the invocation, please?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this time we could all meet. As we come to you tonight, please give your blessings to our community and our council. Keep us all safe and be with those that are in need. In your name we pray. Amen.
So the adoption of the order of business for today, which I had to clarify that with Mr. Watson, is the approval of the agenda. So anybody have any questions, concerns about what we're going to discuss? Okay. First item is minutes from February 13th, 2024 meeting. Do you have any questions, comments?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Saylor and Mr. Godecker.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Joe Decker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Taylor.
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the voucher packets. Questions, concerns about the voucher packet at all?
I'm good.
Anything at all? Brad, do you have any concerns? Do you have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Mr. Brown, and may I take a roll call vote?
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill.
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Financial reports.
Carmen,
I'm sorry.
doing this kind of together.
How about both of you?
Went up to display them homes for the audience. We last month we showed through some of the videos now. That switched over to 2022, so you'll see end of January and end of February on there. The February is highlighted. Still not yet reconciled. The fund balance for general fund is $146,088.17. Nothing out of the ordinary that is different than business. Sewer operating, the fund balance is $66.17. And nothing out of the ordinary on sewer operating, sewer improvement, fund balance $575,994.88. Nothing out of the ordinary. The big expense there was ready dollars, but getting that engineered and ready for business. Water operating, fund balance is $502,868 and 58 cents. Saying nothing out of the ordinary. We will look in January. I did highlight the dispersed amount. That's our annual taxes that we pay for the water to the Department of Revenue. And you'll see down at the very end where February of last year, they were that same amount, or a larger amount. Water improvement fund balance, $37,050.89. I didn't highlight the sports. This included the booster pump invoices and then there was some valves in that slumped for Falls Tower. So those bigger expenses, but I put that in the notes. So those are the balances.
I know, Carmen, we have spoken, and I asked Melissa, could you bring everybody up to speed on the reconciliation, kind of what we talked about, just Reedy, reconciliation, please?
So last we heard that they were going to be done by the end of March. So that's all we've heard about the reconciliation part of it.
And we're reconciled up to what year again? 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
They're just tweaking some things, and I got them some information. They were here going through some of our softwares to kind of match things up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It will probably always say not reconciled for the month prior because you can't do the bank statements until you get them, and you don't get them till like March, like the 5th day of the next month.
Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
2024, but going back,
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring everybody on the same page.
2023 has been closed, so these are all 2024 numbers.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any other questions, financial reports at all? Any questions? Old business, none. New business. Ms. Carmen, you're up.
Saying you all can well aware. The Oakwood grant, expenses, engineering firm, we did that back in December of last year, and the signed up contract. So basically, this is just a professional services agreement. It has redlined, should have had a copy of it tonight that this is we have a copy in the packet, but there was basically tonight is just asking for permission to finance and the purchase of eight of the CNH get from
Question. Have we gotten confirmation from HWC on the last change? Okay. Yeah. Good.
Pricing on is what they're charging us on which page?
That's on an attachment, but this one doesn't look like that's part of the red line. It's probably in the original.
The original, here, I've got the red right now. Get the red line.
15.
So the 50,000 is covered by the grant, okay.
Did we ever call Westler about their inaccuracies?
This is not the sewer.
Oh, it's not been, okay.
Any questions, other questions, concerns? You all right at all? Brown?
I was just trying to catch up. I didn't have the red letter thing, so I'm reading them real quick.
questions at all.
I think our RAN certification and everything's in. Pardon? Gotta have a RAN.
I don't know if it's-
No question.
And Mr. Watson, you vetted this and read that's your red line.
Yes, and
Any concerns?
what actually, I mean, just to give you a little sense, is the process is went through. Today, HWC provided the scope of work attached as Exhibit 1, along with the grant requirements that are also part of Exhibit 1. And I prepared based upon our that we used with our contractors. I provided the original version of that was in your pack. That was also provided to HWC. They reviewed it and then requested revisions. All of the revisions that are made in the red line that you have tonight were requested by HWC. I reviewed them and I accepted them as being acceptable on the part of the town. There was one provision that I did not find to be acceptable, and I deleted that. And I shared that with Carmen, and we made sure that HWC was okay having that deleted, and they were okay with that.
Or do we have a motion to accept
I'll move to approve.
ESA? Mr. Sayer or Mr. Godacker? And then can we have a vote, please?
Yes.
Pepper,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
passed 5-0.
Ordinance 2024-05?
No.
No?
Should be the second item under new business.
Contact.
Contact.
Context is on, okay.
Contact design, I've been working with them so the last year. Probably James and I put on the back burner for obvious reasons, but we would like to present the professional services agreement to engage in complex design. And 5 years text. It's something that we're going through the budgeting and we're identifying what we can use our county economic development income tax dollars for the seeded dollars. This was a project that felt that is important to start looking at amenities as residents. So this is they kept the same price as they had pitched to us last year. The price is $38,500. Against the services agreement, Stephen has vetted it. He's taken their original contract and works or our template of the professional services agreement. And context is agreeable, so you just changes the names and obviously because it can be agreed with context.
Yeah, it looks like this.
Here, that's it down.
It should have. I'm gonna call you, Dave.
Is a 5-year on something like this pretty standard? Like I know when we do other things, it's along the lines of like a term like that.
Their 5-year plan, and it's not that, I mean, I guess even with comprehensive plan, they're like a but a park, there are just so many moving parts that, making sure that it's relevant is a specific their plan as well. They have a separate even with it for those ones, but it's I would say when it comes to these type of
So 38,000 is the whole thing.
To do the plan.
Do the plan, that's everything though. I think with,
And then there's progress payments of 30/20, 30/20. Yes, page 4.
And all of these, both of these plans, would have community engagement. Because, I may have a vision of what I think we want, but obviously we want to, community engagement and meetings and, marketing to kind of go out, but really gathering ideas and.
Potential like survey concept too.
Yeah. And that with the comprehensive plan. Now, could those coincide? Potentially, we haven't talked about that. And we want to make sure that they do stay separate because they're two separate plans. But they do interweave with each other.
Questions, concerns on context, design? Design at all?
Well, I mean, yeah, so what, I mean, as far as this particular thing is concerned, like what would we really be looking to get out? I would say, as we've looked for within, talked about neighborhood, kind of putting something in the neighborhoods that are getting developed or what have you. And so like, what would be the focus? Because we haven't done, if any, spending historically, so.
What this that would help to put this plan together with those two things that allows you to have a lot more funding. Once we have a house here, we can start doing impact fees, developments and to start generating revenue, but in order to qualify for DNR grants and other types of grants, you have to. But the goal for this plan would be to identify those areas and see the gifted so far through development and building. We have approximately 50 acres. That's rounding up just a hair. We have approximately 150 acres that is planned to be coming to the town. And so instead of it just being grass for our department, our public works to mow, is to start looking at what kind of programming, amenities, what kind of economic development could we generate with, yes, we could put in a playground, but what if we put in some kind of fields that interests, travel teams and different things that just bring us revenue into the town of Whiteland and other things things of that nature. So really the plan is to figure out with each of those pieces of ground and what makes the good sense. With the space that you have, what types of amenities fit within those pieces of land. And again, not grass to mow, but actually have some abilities with it. Comprehensive plan now, we find out neighborhood, this is getting basically what's in the neighborhood. Community parks that would be a little bit larger scale, and then we talk about sports. They can expand to the surface and what helps the town of Whiteland. But again, it's a parks plan would guide into that little.
We need this to set up a parks board ourselves.
Ideally, they go together. We suggest just so we can, that they would kind of help to implement this plan or help build this plan. Parks is a real interest to us. We did budget, we're taking applications, 3 tornadoes. To kind of see if anybody was interested in being on a parks board, it just kind of got put on the dock.
To what extent do park grants require a master plan?
So obviously, there are some other types of grants, and the state Department of Health actually has grants to do playground and things that require a master plan to be in place.
You have any questions answered, Brad?
Yeah.
Any other questions about this? Do I have a motion at all?
Move to approve.
I have a second?
A second.
Roll call, please.
Ken Brown, Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
It's a good price though.
It is.
2024-05 now?
Modified stormwater plan community development standards and elevations. So as you recall, the scope of development was originally came to this board and the planning commission in 2022. It's located at Tracy Road in Emerson. It's a unusual shaped piece. The petition at the time was over development and was changed in Bradson. Development has taken over the interest in purchasing this property.
I'm sorry, who?
Bradson.
Radisson, okay.
They prepared the land. So with that, obviously Arbor's product is different than who owns this product. So they had the plan components or some pieces. I emailed it out the staff report. We experienced this in front of you. And we both have the planning commission's vote, which was 6-0 unfavorable.
I think that was
5-1, I'm sorry. Thirds.
5-1 favorable.
Hold on a second. I want to make sure we're clear on this.
Okay.
The motion, well, I don't know if you were wanting to tell the history, but I'm sorry.
Can I have a word please for this?
That's nice. Added. That did not pass for favorable with the commitments, and then the second motion was for an unfavorable, and that did pass 5-1. The changes that
You know, one more time.
maybe I'll let them say.
My understanding is that the unfavorable motion was on the base proposal without any additional commitments. So I just want to make sure that was clear. And when I say base, that's exactly the same thing that you have in front of you. And that was what was originally petitioned for to the, kind of.
So things come to you for changes, just whatever that is. There were some negotiations that the Bradson had discussed with them, and they had agreed to some commitments. But again, the planning commission did. I'm going to let them explain as far as the product is, but the movements the arbor development that was passed existing back in 2022. They've got a presentation, so I'll turn it over to Adam.
Hi, members of council. My name is Adam Mears. I'm with Radisson Land Development. Appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you today about this PUD amendment. So as Carmen said, we took this project over. It was for sale. Arbor was the buyer about 2 years ago. For whatever reason, Arbor decided not to move forward with the product or with the project. We were approached by the land seller and the land seller broker, along with Brian Holmes, that they wanted to take this project over. Like most builders, Brian Holmes' product is different than Arbor. In looking at the PUD ordinance that was passed, there were a few minor, in our opinion, minor things that we needed to modify in this PUD to make it fit Ryan Holmes. Last the day of the Plan Commission hearing, we got the staff report, talked to Billy at that time, talked through some things with him, said, hey, we could make these particular changes to the plan. And with those changes that we had suggested, Billy had indicated, and he said at the Plan Commission, that with those changes, that changed his recommendation from unfavorable to favorable. He was in support of the changes that we had put in. For whatever reason, and certainly I have plenty of respect for the Plan Commission, they chose to not agree to the changes and forward you an unfavorable recommendation. My goal here is to go through this with you and hope that you disagree with the Plan Commission and allow these changes so that this project can continue to move forward. And I'll try to be a little brief. The seller's representative is here as well. I know he wants to say a couple of things. Carmen, can you go to the next page? So the location, you guys know where it is. It's at Tracy and Emerson. Next slide is, this was the original Arbor plan, and I'm showing you this because part of our request is a modified development plan. That was Arbor's original layout that was approved. You may have a better copy of it in your packet. The next slide shows our plan, fairly similar, but it is a change. So we had to show that change. For the most part, it's the same layout, same lot width. None of those dimensions have changed. In our planning, what our plan has done, well, first of all, let me just go to the next slide, sorry. This is just some of the things that surround this property. I show this for context so you understand selection in this area is so important. Arbor product that they were going to put in is essentially their standard Arbor product, which is generally their first-time home buyer style product. This area is kind of surrounded by, again, you've got commercial there. That's right off of, can't think of that, off Emerson. The next slide is, that's the IMI right on Tracy Road. And then the next slide, railroad tracks that go on the side of this property. I'm showing you that for context so you understand that this property is different than something that doesn't have commercial, industrial, and other things around it. So there are products that the builders say, hey, this is the product that we think will work here. And it tends to be more of an entry level product. That's what Arbor was going to do. And that's Ryan Holmes to do their product here. That's a slight step down from what you see at the estates of Briar Creek. The next slide shows you what was, these are, I know clearly it's 4 or 5 pages, but I tried to break this down as easy as possible so you can understand what was approved in the original PUD. Arbor was the builder, and Arbor's elevations were approved. They had 201 lots. They were 65-foot wide lots, 19.2 acres of common area, vinyl siding on all 3 sides. 50% of the front facade must be brick or stone, excluding doors, windows, and trim. They agreed to a 36-inch wainscot of brick or stone applied to the side and rear of the homes. Staggered front yard setback, and 7-foot side yard setback with a 20-foot aggregate. If you go to the next slide, this is what our request is, which is Ryan Holmes is the builder. We went to 192 lots, so 9 less lots, so slightly less dense than what Arbor had proposed. Still the 65-foot wide lots. We added 2.5 more acres of open space in the property. we have committed to remove vinyl siding altogether. Adding that all siding shall be brick, stone, or masonry to allow for us to have hardy plank fiber cement all around. Wainscot of brick or stone can be applied to the front elevations, just the front elevations up to either 3 feet or that lower window, whichever one is less. It may be 34 inches on some of the windows, which is why we worded it that way. We would propose going back to the standard R3 standard for the front yard setback, but if council says no, we really like the idea of it staggered every 2 feet. We're not fans of that look as developers and builders, but if that's something that is just, you guys have to have that, we'll keep that in. And then 7 yard side yard setback is the same. However, we're asking for a 15-foot aggregate, and that's to allow for 3-car garages. And Plan Commission, well, just so you know, all of their product, all their 2-car garage product is 40 feet wide. So assuming that most of the product will likely be 2-car garages, that's their most popular product, you're going to have 12 and a half on either side on most houses because it's a 40-foot product on a 65-foot wide lot. So you're going to have 25 between homes on most of them. When there is a 3-car garage in play, it's going to get to like 15 feet aggregate. And at Plan Commission, we said there was some concern about utilities running, utilities running in some of the side yards. We said, hey, we will not allow 3-car garage where there's utilities running in between those. And if we needed to say no to 3-car garages next to each other, we'd be willing to do that as well. And if that were the case, generally it would be more than 15 feet through the whole development. This is just, again, the worst case scenario to get it down to 15 feet, which I think is the same that we've got in Briar Creek. So the next slide really is the nuts and bolts of what we're asking. The changes we're asking, and some of these have been added since staff report came out, but allow cement fiberboard siding with brick and stone. Allow us to remove vinyl siding. Let the wainscot be modified just to that front elevation. Change the front yard setback to the R3 standard. Allow that side yard aggregate to be 15 and approve Ryan Homes architecture. The next slide just shows what Arbor Homes, and again, that's as color we fit it on this. I know you guys have seen this in the past. It's their standard Arbor line, again, that has brick on the front and vinyl on the sides. As well. These are actual photos of a subdivision in Whitestown called Jackson's, where Ryan Homes is building this exact product. As you can see, there's also that 36-inch wainscot on the front. That's all hardy plank. Those are their 2-car garage product. They offer 18 different colors to choose from a color palette standpoint. Currently, they have 3 ready move-in homes there. One of them's $340,000. The second one's about $353,000. The third one, $360,000. So we're not talking about low-end homes. These are still $325,000 and up on these homes. So they're nice homes. They're good quality. I think they look very good. If you want to go to the next slide, Carmen, thank you. It just kind of shows a couple houses next to each other, and then there's one of the 3-car garages that they did. We think this product, again, is a great fit for this area. We are not diving to the bottom, so to speak. These, again, all hardy flanked, having that front 36-inch wainscot, allowing 3-car garages, and again, these are going to be $325,000 and up. And this is what Ryan builds. Ryan does not build this line of product with a brick front facade. So, you know, I guess I say, to me, the biggest benefit for the town in doing this is you get rid of the vinyl. In the end, if somebody comes behind us and does this product under the brick bud, you're going to have you know, a neighborhood full of vinyl. We're willing to remove that as an option and go to all cement. And again, these are, and you're welcome to go to Ryan Homes' website. That's where I got this information. I didn't make it up. I literally went to their website today, Jackson's Run, pulled up available homes. There are 3 available, ranging from $340,000 to $360,000. these are the elevations. There are 4. These 3 show the wainscot. The 4th one, I don't think does, or there is a 4th one that doesn't have the wainscot on it. But these are the elevations that are like and kind to what will be built there. So really, in the end, I'd ask that you approve our text amendment with those 6 changes that I outlined on that one individual slide. I'm happy to answer any questions you got. I think this is going to be a great product and a great development. I think removing the vinyl is a significant benefit to the town. Again, the price range is a nice house, $300,000+ houses. That's all I'll say as the developer. I'll let Sam talk on behalf of the seller, just to give you the seller's perspective on how we got here as well. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions you got.
Before you step down, so I appreciate this information. The question I had, even for the old developer.
Sure.
What are we doing with the railroad tracks behind this? I mean, how are we going to burn that up and conceal? Because you're talking about $350,000 house that's going to butt up against a railroad.
Yeah.
What's your plan there?
Way too early for that. We have not got a state plan. Generally, this is just our zoning request. Once we start going through TAC and getting our preliminary plan together, our primary plat, that will have all of our, that'll have a landscape plan with it. We're just too early in the process to go spend, $20,000 on a landscape plan when we're not sure that it's going to get approved. But of course, look, we have to sell lots to Ryan Homes. Ryan Homes has to sell houses. They understand that the railroad's there. We've got a similar project in Lebanon that's right up against, it backs up to a Walmart and there's a railroad track there. We did a good job of buffering it there, and we'll do the same here. We're just not that far along in the plan to go through that.
So how high a buffering would you do on it? I mean,
it's not going to look. It's not going to. You can't hide the tracks. I mean, people that buy, they're going to know there's, and that's, I think, on the risk of the builder and the risk of the developer. That hey, you might have some trouble selling those lots. They may have to give discounts on some of those lots up against the railroad tracks. But they're aware of it, and they're still excited about delivering this product there. But as we get through planning and get our landscape plan together and come in with our primary plat, we'll have way more detail on the kind of buffering that we'll be doing in the neighborhood.
Okay, Carmen, I'm sorry. Yep.
Richard, just so you all know, to the north of that is a parcel that is Greenwood that has been zoned as residential. And they are planning to put a trail along the railroad, and so we would ask for that to be continued.
Yeah, we don't love that idea. We'll talk, I just don't, for a safety purpose, I don't think having a walkway next to a railroad's all that smart. But if we get into planning, and that's something planning wants, we have to do it. But yeah, so Lennar's to the north of us. That was one other change of our plan, is we had to show 2 stubs into the Lennar piece to the north. And that's Greenwood, of course. But yeah, they're putting their trail in. They're doing their kind of standard product that is called Venture, which is kind of their entry style product as well. Yeah, we'll be tying right into them as well.
I had a question, and perhaps Carmen may answer this also, but this particular plot of land, we had talked in the past about using access to this to provide certain utilities across the road. Is that?
To that individual.
Right, to the,
Yes, so those commitments would remain the same.
Yeah, we haven't asked a lot of those commitments as part of the.
I just want to make sure that we're still on board with honoring what we had planned and all of that, so.
And I think Carmen hopefully Carmen sent you, I've kind of done a revised text amendment that shows those 4 or 5 changes that we made. And again, I'll let Stephen decide how the ordinance gets drafted if you want to use what I've done.
Sir, could you go back? You say 21 acres an area. So where can you go back to your print and kind of point that out? I'm looking at it on my phone and I can't.
Well, yeah, this is this exhibit B, if you were looking at it, in front of my,
I don't know if you have the.
We don't.
Because that was part.
Do we? I have not
part of
found.
my presentation.
Yeah, we do.
If you got, but
I see yours. I don't.
I can do this, Rich. So, we've got, it includes the ponds, open area in there because there's some utilities in there.
This would be common area. And
Common area, and our engineer does all the calculations here.
Right here.
back here's common area.
No, this is stubbing into the Lennar.
Keep going against it.
Everything you see kind of in here, open space,
Right, it
open
was
space.
here.
We'll have internal trails inside. And more of
It's
a
right here.
primary that you'll see those details. This is more of, let's call it a concept plan.
Yeah.
It's a little more detailed than a concept plan because we figured out the linear footage. The thing I should say, the 1,000 feet linear street. Linear feet street, that left street to maintain from what Arbor had proposed as well. So thought I'd point that out.
Shed any light on why do this versus the existing PUD?
At the end of the meeting, I think everybody was clear on what we were doing, although in my mind, I thought they were voting on stuff with the changes, so. I think a lot of the concern, or a lot of the issues came because we made changes with staff between the time of 1:30 and 7 o'clock. So staff came in and presented the original without the additional commitments. I mean, look, I know Slim voted no. We can ask, you can feel free to ask him. There was a sentiment from Plan Commission that, hey, we approved these standards 2 years ago. That's what we liked, and we kind of want to stick to that. And, my attempt was to say, this is a more expensive product with less street footage. Now, again, it's still 325 up to 360. It just doesn't have a brick front facade. Most other builders you can get, they'll come in here and put a super thin brick front on it and give you your vinyl around the three sides. And we think this is a much better product for this piece.
Is hardy plank less expensive than brick?
No, I don't necessarily know, but Ryan Holmes just does not. They're cottage elevation products, and they do not build a product in this line with brick.
But you said that you're doing away with vinyl, but it looks like vinyl.
Oh, I assure you,
It does not look like
it does not.
And it looks
Does-
much improved, like.
No.
Like Briar Creek would be hardy plank. What it looks like is a 6 or 8 inch cedar plank.
So it has like,
Cement board.
Got a wooden grain look. on it.
okay, it's not flat.
No, it doesn't look really much like vinyl at all. It looks like a wood overlap type sign.
Okay.
A warp. It's a better product. It's more expensive than mine. I mean, look.
Right.
I'd love to sit here today and say, hey, approve this cottage elevation and let us keep doing the vinyl because it's a lot less expensive.
But wasn't Arbor saying that their product was gonna be like 400,000?
I thought they were in the twos,
Yeah.
but that's just my record.
Twos?
They'd be-
Okay. Yeah, so I didn't think 320 or whatever was bad.
So like this would just be, much of that, I think, is a matter of taste. I personally think it's attractive. Like something that I would certainly be feeling for myself. And so I don't have a concern there reading through these plans. Certainly I like to have the planning commission have a lot of weight, because why else have it then, right? Unless we want to do it. However, as I look through the requests down that list, and so I figured I would just speak up here, like on what their, proposed changes are. I don't see any problem with not. Going down the list, some of those were in fact improvements. I think the homes look much more appealing than the other options from Arbor. We already have an excellent relationship from Briar Creek with Ryan Homes. And so I think that neighborhood continues to do well, and they're building it. Seem very pleased there. And so that to me we're not taking a chance or a risk. We are, I mean, this is a proven entity. And so I'm not necessarily advocating for a point of view here, but I mean, I don't think that there's anything weird or unusual about that. I mean, if anything's weird or unusual, it's an unusual plot of land in a strange location.
Right.
And so here we have a known trusted builder that we have a multi-year relationship with already that wants to put in a nice looking product, in my opinion. And so, I mean, I think that there's something to be said there.
Well, don't we have an interlocal with Greenwood for a passing blister and such, right? Is that there? That's that same location? Okay.
And I would say, I don't know that everybody would say this, but as a developer and as Ryan as a home builder, I would be more than happy to call any homeowner in Briar Creek, go to the village side, the duplex side. We have a very good relationship with those homeowners, them regularly as the HOA, make sure that the services we're providing is great. We meet them on a quarterly basis. We've taken a real active role clearly in that area where we are on the Briar Creek, even moving over and now doing those next two sections. We're committed to this area. I would never, ever stand here and try to push a product that I didn't think was going to be not only successful, but right for that particular property. And again, I think it's going to be a great product with these few minor adjustments.
Carmen, I got a question for you, please. He said they come in and talk to Billy before planning. Is the town, are you guys favorable of this project? Is Billy favorable of it?
Yes. The commitments were discussed, and the question was asked of Billy after we have changed if those commitments would have been presented, more in advance. Did you have agreed, given it a favorable recommendation, and he did say yes?
The problem I have with it is we have a board. What does this? We're supposed to, they do more into it than we do. We look at it when they present it to us, so they know more about the architectural stuff. Personally, myself, I have a hard time in something that they agree to that it's not based on recommendation, and that's just me. Is this a good product? No doubt. Some of the yards, a little small in the back, that's kind of concerning, and stuff like that. But like I said, I just have a hard time voting for something and going against what the board did, because that's what we got them there for, is to do what they think's best for the town.
He'd say, Stephen did say that they voted it unfavorable based on the original without.
Correct. And I understand that.
But I don't know if that would have been able.
Well, I would like to interject there just to make sure we're all clear. Yeah. My understanding is the first motion was to approve it with the commitments, and that was voted down.
2-4.
I wasn't there, so I can't say, but in the event, it was voted down.
So it was voted down with the commitments you're going to do right now. With the ones you've come and said Billy was favorable, they still voted it down. So that's, and I'm only one person, sir. And I'm just curious because I was on that board at one time, and we've done non-favorable recommendations, and then it come to the council, and the council approved it anyway. It kind of made me feel, why am I on this board? Why am I trying to make a choice and try to do what's right for the, if I'm accountable, change it, it makes me feel like I'm not appreciated on planning and zoning. And I could be wrong. I'm just one person, but that's just how I feel. I think that if we got a board and that's their job to do that and do what's right, we should honor their opinion and take it in really strong consideration. Now, we can make our own opinion. I agree with that because this is a nice product. That's all I was asking, and that's why I want to know what Billy said.
You bet, Sam. Give you a little bit of.
Hang on, sir.
Yeah, sure. Bye-bye.
Slim, give us your take, please, on
Why did you vote no?
why did you vote no? And kind of your
That's
perception.
putting him on the spot.
That's all right.
Well, it's kind of, for everybody. It was kind of to look at the house they would be willing to do brick on the front of it. No, they said that's a different house. Distance between the houses, I mean, setting up the fireman, in my opinion. Did take care of that part of it with the sewer or water going between that. Their part on that side of it. It was just, I can't speak for everybody.
Yeah.
It's everybody else.
Did Eric vote no?
But I don't think.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, I kind of like the brick myself.
But Billy and Carmen likes it. And you gotta look at the odd piece of land. We're gonna have trouble getting.
So hearing what was presented here, potentially has this
Looking at it.
kind of even things out at all to where, I mean, I understand the lots and the sizes. I mean, the property size and the house is built. I mean, we're always going to have that struggle.
They were born. They make the decision.
But
It'd be different.
coming back here, I mean, would you still lean your one way or would you? Okay. It's respectable. So.
It's at that point where, yeah, and it's a good home. But it's at that point of, there's just not something there something's just not there to trip the trigger to say, now we've got something. It's something there that's missing.
So is the Hardy plank the thing that made your decision? It was the space in between the homes.
It's the whole area. There's just not something there for me that say, yes, move forward with this.
Can I ask you this, Slim? And I don't know if you were on the plan commission when the original Arbor proposal, the one that's kind of in existence now, were you on when that came before? Are you at all, I guess you're familiar with what it is, because it's what's currently in the PUD. It's I think, brick on the front, vinyl or whatever on the sides, and then I think you had to have 15 and then the stagger. Would you be in favor of that now, or do you see that in the same light as this?
I'm at odds. I mean, it's turned out to be a good product, but I'm still at odds with it.
The Arbor?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of my struggle, to be honest with you, is that this isn't perfect, but what we have in existence, I'm having as many problems with as I am with this.
I just kind of, I don't know. It's a good thing if you.
Strauss across the street, which we're supposed to do.
Based on what Mr. Godecker commented, we do have some history. We do product in the community. I mean, the Hardy plank. Maybe it's not brick, but it looks like it's some sort of like a stone masonry product. So I just wanted to get your input. So I appreciate you. I bring your.
Just nuts. Don't do that well.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Carmen, yes?
Currently approved in the plan unit development that you have, the Arbor, is 22, 24, and 26. This would be 30. So I know we had worked over the Arbor, and I know that there was a lot of discussion, and my concern is we already have vehicles parking over a sidewalk, which is against our ordinances as well as state, where you can't park, and we all know that even though you have a 2-car pre-built garage, most people don't put the vehicles in the garage, and so to get 2 vehicles bumper to bumper, you have been covering the city. This is the one thing that I liked about this, is that it's moving it up to our true R3 standards, it's a 30-foot front yard setback.
And Millstone had small backyards. So I don't think no one's gonna buy it if that's not what they want.
Is our current R3 7 and 8, or is it 7 and an aggregate?
I think it's 12. I honestly think it's 12 side yard setback. So the way that, and I don't have it right in front of me, and I get them confused sometimes. I know R1 is 12 and 15 with a total of 27, but I believe it might be 10 or 12. But I know that, and I did ask Steve Houser from a fire standpoint, he said no less than 15 is where he was at on his aggregate. So, of course, you have a 2-story and a 2-story. If something does go, awry, there could be, damage to other properties, but he said no less than 15 is what they like to see. But this isn't vinyl.
Yeah.
Plank
Right.
typically doesn't burn it the same.
Right.
Well, hardy plank's not supposed to burn at all.
So we're talking about a lot of this, and some ideas coming to mind. I mean, you mentioned, like kind of starter home, first home, and I'm like, to me that's concerning because the more, obviously we're going to have building standards, but the more that you put in there, the more it raises prices. And so like we're talking, $300 and something $1,000 for a first house sounds.
That's 3 times more than my first house.
When many of the houses in Whiteland and New Whiteland are smaller lots, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, 900 and something square feet. I mean, that's what you see most of it. And we're not building that anymore. They can't build that because they can't make any money on it because you have to have such big setbacks and larger side yards and higher end materials. Now on the brick versus the hardy plank, to be honest, like on some of the photos, like I think the hardy plank looks better. And so like I don't have any reservation personally about that, but I don't know. I mean, these are just things to consider. And again, I'm not trying to advocate for or against, but this particular plot of ground as well. I think it's a tough sell kind of. And so like they like it and they want to do it. And so, I think it would be a significant upgrade to have Ryan Homes on that particular plot of ground than what's currently there. Or what was approved already.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's an upgrade for both things.
Pardon?
Saddlebrook, they have vinyl.
Yeah, I think Millstone does too. That was always the one thing I didn't like about Millstone was the way that once you got behind the houses, the way they looked. And this, I think hardy plank looks infinitely better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
Sam Carozas, I'm representative for Bruce Smith, who's the seller of this property.
You spell your last name, sir?
Yeah. Karozos. I wrote some stuff down here that I'm not great at ad-libbing, but I'm gonna risk it and go off script because there was a couple questions I think maybe I can. The first point that a few of you made is relevant, that a no vote isn't a reversion back to agricultural zoning. It's a reversion back to the PUD that's in place that does allow for the 3-sided vinyl. And to your point, ma'am, hardy plank has become the building standard for really all residential development. It's a much higher quality product than vinyl is. It shouldn't burn. If it does, it burns at a much higher temperature than vinyl does. It's viewed as much safer. Property values hold up better over time with hardy plank. It doesn't work like vinyl does. It's usually viewed as a significant improvement over vinyl. The other point I think I have to address here, sort of tail tucked between my legs, is I think the reason some Plan Commission went a little sideways is it would have behooved us to have an extension of the current deal under contract, but the seller's not allowing for more time on the deal. So currently our current contract expires this month. Gradison didn't have time to ask for a continuance, and that's on us. That's on us as the seller, because I think maybe a better organized, well, I don't want to say it was disorganized, but, we made some changes, or you made some changes after the 1:30 deadline and advanced the meeting, and in my experience, that always seems to go a little bit sideways. But in any event, I just wanted to speak on behalf of Bruce, of the seller here. Bruce has been a longstanding client of mine. We listed this property originally. Harbor put it under contract. Really, the first thing we did when we listed the property for sale under its agricultural zoning was meet with the town and ask the question, what would you like to see here? We thought maybe there's some commercial potential, maybe it would go residential. We weren't certain. It wasn't in, I don't think it was in the comp plan at the time. The town's message then, the consistent message throughout is, I'd like to see residential here. we, throughout the Arbor process, learned a lot of lessons the hard way. One of those lessons is some people back up what they say they're going to do and some don't. Along that 2-year process, I got pretty integrated with Mike Lewis and Matt Roush over at Ryan Homes. And for better or for worse, when those guys win or when they lose, they do what they say they're going to do. I've had deals that Ryan Homes lost out on, and then a week later heard that they recommended me for a different job. So those guys are, they tend to be good stewards of the communities that they do business in. They tend to take wins in stride and losses on the chin. In any event, some of you may know Bruce, some of you may not. Bruce is a long-standing good steward of the community and of Johnson County. Bruce owned and operated the excavating company Brusco that laid and replaced a lot of the sewer lines throughout Johnson County. He's third generation. He now has kids and grandkids that live in Johnson County and lay claim to 5 generations. Resident in Johnson County. Bruce has lived here his whole life. He's an everyday regular at the Grill Bar in Franklin. He eats lunch there about every day. If you haven't met him, I'd suggest go every time and do meet him. He's a good man. And I just ask that you consider Bruce tonight when weighing your decision. Another point I'd like to make about the quality and the price of the housing. So my job takes me to all corners of the state. The homes I see proposed here with the Hardy Plank site are the homes I see on the golf courses in Westfield. They're the homes I see by the Monon Center in Carmel. They're the homes I see proposed and approved on Main Street in Glenwood. I think it's a quality product from a quality developer. I'd also like to reference 2 very recently completed housing studies. The first is the Central Indiana Housing Study, which was completed by the Indy MPO. It's a Metropolitan Policy Organization, which is a mouthful. The second is Aspire, which is Johnson County's Economic Development Committee. They did a Johnson County housing study. Both studies identified a severe lack of housing, particularly housing of the 250 to 400,000 variety within Johnson County. Right now, with interest rates the way they are and home prices the way they are, many first-time buyers can't afford homes. And there is a desperate need throughout the state, but also throughout this county for housing of this type of product. The last point I had written down, I already said. A rejection of this tonight is not a reversion to agricultural or a clean slate. It is the reversion to the already approved PUD with 3-sided vinyl. And again, brick facade is not brick, it's brick facade. It's a thin layer of brick on the front. I view this as a significant improvement over that. I firmly believe this project is an excellent fit. I think it's the right product, the right developer, the right seller, and the right timing. And would just ask that you all maybe consider that and all believe it's the right thing to do. Thank you for your time and council and, and council president as well. I know you all are affording us the time to speak in front of the project. So thank you very much for allowing us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I try to keep it short and sweet.
Any other questions, concerns, Tim? Have any questions, concerns?
No, I guess my thought is comparing this to the existing PUD, it's not all upsides, but it's more upsides than down, from what I said.
I would agree. Do we have a motion on the table at all?
And I would say, may I interject?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Trying to keep things as smooth as possible. Right now, what you have in front of you is the base proposal without any of the commitments, or amendments, if you will, that have been discussed tonight. If you want to approve the request with the commitments or the modifications that have been presented tonight, you would need to, at least in the motion, include reference to those specific additions that need to be made to the ordinance. And what we may need to do first, identify in particular what modifications to the proposed ordinance you're willing to consider making to it before a final adoption. And
I mean, I think
and unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the PowerPoint kind of itemized. Do you have an extra one by chance?
Exact.
the reason I can't come
Ordinance,
back
I have the exact
table and come back with the ordinance. I think the copy we have.
Yes, because
Mine didn't have any red lines. I
Second page
didn't print all the other documents that came.
was to do some.
Without any-
You put all these commitments in there.
Yeah, I would have printed for you.
But that part of what you're
worst case, we missed something.
Yeah, I'm missing that. That's the only thing I was, it's in the second paragraph.
I don't know if you're gonna accept that format or not. This is what I did there, that's up there,
Okay.
that has those changes. Some of them are put into the same paragraph, but that's the gist. Those are the specific things that are being
Languish for you.
from the current PUD.
If we, and
Yeah, by chance, do you have this in a Word?
This one.
You can email?
Of course.
What I'm getting at is.
Card?
Pardon me?
Do you have your business?
Yeah, I,
Oh, okay.
can't even.
If you don't know, 350 times, it's that one.
We already approved that.
This is better.
Because they
Yes, is that- you could email it to me tonight during our meeting. We can move on to some other things. I could prepare a revised version if you wanted to go that route, unless you have a different approach you want to take and have
That's
a
what you-
final version to vote on.
I'd be
That you could sign tonight.
I prefer to see it all in writing before I voted on something.
I'd prefer to see it, like, as you described as.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I mean, I understand the hurry. I really do, but I mean, it's one of them things to make it right. We need it in writing on this, not just hearsay, and then we'll go from there. If not, do it like you said, or table it till next month.
So,
Yeah, that wasn't going to be my first recommendation.
Right.
Is to, if you want
That's my thing. I think we need to.
continue it. However, it looks like that would create a problem for them.
I think that there's a urgency that triggers, doesn't it?
It's, we have to close in 13 days, or the seller has indicated he's gonna take the property off the market. And as many times as we've asked to extend, he said no every single time. We're actually, I think, paying him money every day that we don't close from, I think, February 5th. So we got 13 days left. I have it, I have it, and I'll email it to you right now. But that writing there is those 5 things, and those things listed are the specific changes.
I would ask that if Mr. Watson could, put that together for us to look at by the end of the meeting, I'd be inclined to take action.
Is there consensus to take an approach?
No. But that's your guys' call.
so if he's able to send that to Mr. Watson and during our meeting, come up with a modification we're in agreement to, then you're not okay.
We're going to take a vote on it, and then I can vote whether it's yes or no.
The right now.
Correct. If you're good with that, go ahead and get it up. Since the majority wants it, I'll go in with the majority of it and do it that way. But next time, if it was me, I'd like to see all this in writing before we even have this presented to us. That way we don't have to go out of the box to get where we need to be. Next time, it'd be nice to have this all in writing. In my opinion, Fry could have had a couple days to look at this, because it's kind of like we're throwing this in right now, and I've got to speed up to catch everything up, and I don't like that. And it's not that I don't think you've got a good product. I've seen these homes. I've inspected some of them, so I do know it's a good product. I just don't like to be forced upon something real quick. I like to take it all in and go through everything and talk to Carmen, talk to Slim, talk to the people, talk to you guys about making the right choice for this area. Unfortunately, I'm sorry that the developer or the land seller, you got 13 days. But unfortunately, I didn't cause that. So next time, I'd really appreciate a little bit more notice. It's just in my opinion.
Fair.
I will say, I did send her that draft ordinance in my presentation, those literally are the only things that are changing.
Yeah.
So I did my best to get it out to you, but
Yeah, and quite honestly, considering it's relatively minimal, I can retype it. It's not that big a deal.
okay.
I saw that, yes.
I have it in Word. Yeah.
So,
So, do you want us to move on to the next order of business?
Yes.
Find out where I'm at.
A lot of talk.
2024,
05, no,
that's what we did.
06.
06, addition of new stormwater management code.
all together. 2024-06, please. Thank you.
Year and a half. It's a requirement that comes down the item that we have to make some modifications to our stormwater. The way that we look at our stormwater management and our technical standards, those need to be adopted by July. So we're actually ahead of schedule. Stormwater Board did a
Highlighter.
changes, and so therefore with it coming as a text amendment or not just a text, a whole amendment of the code to the council would need to approve this to formally adopt it. And Brian Kramer, our stormwater coordinator, is here.
So IDM has already seen this, right?
It's basically their boilerplate. Johnson County adopted this last year, and it's actually more restrictive than what our current stormwater code is. And so we've been kind of making sure that everybody that is coming to us with development, if they are near, right now, if they're near a legal drain, they have to take their project to the county stormwater board. And so they're already cringing because of the standards being a little bit more restrictive, or a lot more restrictive, as far as like release rates and things of that nature. So we're adopting pretty much the same standards. Because anytime we hear of a new development coming in, we hear from our residents or other property owners of standing water and all of those things. So it's kind of the standard that's, they gave us a template and
I read all of it because I deal with it over there too. And it was very good. I would say they did a good job on presenting it, and it is a lot stricter than what we do have in, because that's a lot of boring reading, but I have to use it in my job too, so it was one of the things that caught me up over there, plus over here too. So it was really nice to see the work that they put into it and did, and I do appreciate that from both of you.
Brian, do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to share with us since you're involved in it?
I guess I can speak.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I want to give you the opportunity to.
So pretty much what we're doing, we're taking the last ordinance in 2006 for stormwater. That was under the Rule 13, Rule 5. IDM has now came up with a new general permit under the construction stormwater general permit. And they have all these stricter guidelines that all designers and contractors have to follow. And this ordinance implements all those new regulations and rules. And it was effective on December 18th of 2021. So all MS4 jurisdictions have to go off these guidelines. So that's why we're updating our ordinance. So we follow IDM, because if we don't, we're not in compliance with their rules.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
and I did review and did my usual cleanups and so forth to it to make sure it's consistent with our town code formatting and various things like that and so forth. So I have been through it as well.
It was,
yes.
it was rough reading, but I made it.
There's no other question, concerns? Do we have a motion at all for?
I'll make a motion to approve it. I'll second.
Mr. Brown and Mr. Saylor, second it. And if we could take a roll call vote, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
Got it.
That one didn't put you to sleep.
Hold on.
Definitely put you to sleep. So,
Let me interject here.
yeah.
And you will remember,
You're earning extra money.
the rules, the law is that you have to adopt an ordinance at two separate meetings unless you suspend the rules. And so if you want this to go into effect tonight, then you have a motion to suspend the rules. Otherwise, we'll just put it on the agenda for next month and move on down the road.
I just soon follow the rules.
Yeah.
Because we did it once and we're not in a hurry. We're already, I mean, we
There's
got
no
nothing
hurry,
coming
right?
in right now. So why not just do it by the book and make sure we're, because I hate jumping out of order.
First reading.
Okay,
So we'll pass on that, sir.
thank you.
There's not a deadline that we're going to miss.
Appreciate it, guys.
Only a few of you probably that follows readings, but ordinance 2024-07, ordinance adopting a new stormwater technical standards manual in the town of Whiteland. So this has the engineering folks that get geeked out with that calculation and math and all that fun stuff. So same concept, and from IDEM. This is where they get their flow rates and release rates and all those different calcs for the new developers and stuff. So, for your pass it. For reading.
Tim, did you read that? That was 200.
Yeah, I read half of it and I haven't made it to the other end. If I'll be honest, because I have to do it at my job too. So it's kind of one of them things that was healthy for me, but it's, whoo-hoo. I'm hoping to get to the rest of it in another month, but we'll see.
I'll move to accept first reading 2024-07.
Have a second.
Yeah.
So Mr. Godecker and Ms. Anderson, and roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
0.
First reading.
First reading, and we're not in a deadline crunch or anything, so this is next month. Is that good, Mr. Watson?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We're not on the norm.
Ordinance 2024-08.
It is a rezoning for 192, which is currently C2. They would like to rezone it at R3. There is a house on this. There's always been a there since the late. But the petitioner, the owner of the property, it's again, it's always said the house, zoned, but it's Gary Street, it's on the same block, it's CPS, but it's the White House that's there early in Petitioner, is that right?
Right.
Petitioner. So right now, they're essentially living in the home, but the garage is actually set up for it has living space in there, it has plumbing, it has a guest room. It has been a man cave. They would like to repurpose that space as an apartment, meaning that it would be a multi-family currently underneath. The only zones that would allow that would be because they're two separate structures. And that's where they came to the Plan Commission for rezoning, to move it from C2 to R3. The Plan Commission passed this with their favorable recommendation 5-1.
I think I created it up. It's in Herman's email. Where's Dairy Queen? It's right here in the barn behind CVS.
So in the document you said, it's the blue, highlighted blue that we're talking about?
No, they're actually a Yellowstone.
So it can be.
I'm amazed they want this.
What's staff recommendation on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine, white with no yellow.
I don't know.
It's that house right there.
Favorable.
Okay, so it's right directly behind CVS.
CVS. Like across the street.
Yeah.
I have zero qualms about this one.
So she'll make sure she can.
I think it's puzzling that they're doing it that way. I mean,
That's what
that's for them, man, so.
It's a house, so I suppose we could go home. Acknowledge it's a house.
It's an old house.
Yeah.
How did it get, how was it, was it part of all that?
The overlay shows it as C2, the actual property shows it as C2. It could have been in a group of properties at the time that was on that. We cannot find exactly when that was, but the property owner, he owns it now with a land partner, but he lived there in the home. It was Canada Mason. His family has a Canada Mason insurance firm on Whiteland Road, but he had lived in that structure. And that's who would refer to it as the man cave. So.
He was there when I was in high school. That's how old it is.
That was just yesterday.
I'll make a motion.
Roll call, please. That was easy.
And before you make,
Only requires,
Hang on.
Hold on, yeah.
only requires one, right?
that's correct, so
The zoning, yeah.
So I'm asking for final.
final, thank you.
Tim,
Yes.
Joe Decker,
Yes.
That you're here.
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
Good. Yeah.
Proposal agreement to create donation fund.
Years to establish a donation fund at the Johnson County Community Foundation, similar to what other municipalities have done. We've tossed it around, is this something that makes sense for us? I had sent out a letter to all of you back in February with kind of our thoughts on what we were wanting to do. As I mentioned in my letter, that there's other municipalities that have a donation fund at the community foundation, what that could, we have a donation fund in our current appropriations. When we receive donations or sponsorships from companies, they're not a charitable tax exempt type donation. They give us the donation and send a thank you, but it's not a tax write-off for that company. As we look at larger projects, and other ways to generate revenue, to sponsor an event, the meaning of certain parks and things like that, those dollars will have a lot, those requests will have a lot more zeros on them, and most likely there would be a request for that to be attached. We also currently experienced, a need to maybe set up an online donation method when K9 Riggs fell ill. This would allow us to be able to collect online donations and not have to set up a GoFundMe or anything of that nature. They have the ability through the community foundation to set up an online donation through a web link. So I put in there the pros of what I feel like setting up a fund at the community foundation would be. Again, we can accept donations that are tax deductible and a charitable contribution. We would accept credit card donations, and if they would use those $5 and the grantee requires that the applicant be a 501c3. So the Johnson County Community Foundation, in my experience, I have a fund through another organization that I'm a part of, that we have a fund set up at the Community Foundation. And if the town of Whiteland is not a 501c3, so there are some grant dollars that we can apply for because we're not that 501c3 organization, that could allow us that opportunity. Obviously, with anything, there is a small cost. This isn't the primary job for the Johnson County Community Foundation, but they created these, they have a lot of outside funds that they kind of manage and administer. So they do have a fee that goes along with that. It's a 2% on any gifts to the fund. And that the requirement is that you must keep a minimum of $2,500 in the fund at all times. It's flexible in that. So like say we put in, $2,500 to get us started. It's not like, okay, you fell to $24.99, I need $1, that kind of thing. So there is some flexibility there, but they do like to keep that in because then what they do with those dollars is invest them and then they make money the interest. We do not. But again, it's just kind of a pass-through account that allows us to expect and be able to participate in charitable contributions of significant amounts. So again, it's something we've been looking at for a couple of years. I'd like to see if we could establish a fund, and then if we do get to establish a fund, the next item is to appropriate some dollars into that.
So the 2% is a one-time fee?
It'll be every donation.
Right, not every month. And we're not just going to hoard money there, right? Because, we get 4% interest in our bank accounts and we're not getting anything there. Right.
It's good to see this as well. The city of Franklin has multiple community foundation. They have a parks fund, a mayor's community project fund, and then they have just like a general city charitable. Greenwood has a downtown revitalization fund and a flag fund. And the other ones are specific. The other municipalities.
So are you going to put community day money in there?
I'm just going to start it out, and this is going to start with the daily foundation. And anything new we collect through as we're doing a community event, or we get a lot of questions about how can I donate flags or anything like that. We would probably start trying to move a lot of the donations there. But again, it would be for something that we can immediately purchase something as well. So where
they pay our like the vendors, like the balloons or the blow up people.
Yes, we can use it.
But will they pay it or do we? Okay.
It wouldn't just be a deposit.
Okay.
You could do
I can say that in the immediate aftermath of the tornado, I learned more about the Johnson County Community Foundation and all things related, and I was very impressed with the organization.
Have they done anything with the monies that were donated for the tornado?
We still have 6 individual cases that still need some assistance, but they've asked us as the town to come to them with anything that we may need, as far as, as we're continuing rebuilding.
So they have helped people already?
Yes. It's for balance because I've been the town has been left out of that. On the long-term recovery, but they have started to engage with us a lot more because, again, we're down to just a handful of cases that are a lot more difficult, and they truly need the relationship that we as the town employees have with our residents.
I'd be curious on what they've done with it, Not necessarily who got it, but.
In the long term, it wasn't up to the JCCF where it got spent. It was up to the long-term recovery.
Right.
Committee, which the municipal government entities cannot sit on. So we were at a little bit of an arm's length. I went to a bunch of those meetings and they seem to do good work.
On top of this would create the 501c3 to where
yes,
we would potentially could capitalize for the town on donations, and they would be able to get a tax deduction, or so to speak, or at the end of the year.
Well, Yes, so that would be C3. Any donations would be tax deductible. So they would send out letters. Now it would say you donated to the Johnson County Community Foundation, but this specific fund. But then it also allows us to use that with permission for grant to utilize their 501c3 in an application for potential grants.
Are you gonna pay for scholarship out of that?
We haven't quite, we just want to get it started, or make sure
Okay.
you guys are on board with it. But I did receive a donation from Otto's sister, or daughter, Otto's daughter. And so we're trying to, think of ways that we can start, generating money to where we're just not taking a scholarship, that we're actually doing an event like we used to do. We're doing something that just kind of engages the folks that use Otto and building up. We talked about these flags. Those are very expensive. We started, we've done a Veterans Day event. We get sponsors just to kind of cover all the costs that we do. Again, to engage the community, engage our new businesses that we have, and do a lot more. So.
Thank you. Any other questions at all? Do you have a motion at all on the table?
I'll move to approve.
Do we have a second? Mr. Saylor and Ms. Hendrickson? Can we take a vote, please?
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 5-0.
Thank you. Ms. Carmen?
Next is just a resolution to now be able to appropriate funds to put into this. Newly created. So I'm asking for $2,500 from the community day fund that we have currently to set us up with as a staff. This Johnson County Community Foundation.
I have a question, Mr. Watson.
Yes.
On the agenda for this topic 2024-01, allocating the funds,
Yep.
it's public hearing.
Yes, we need to have a public hearing.
Okay.
It's been advertised for a public hearing, and we need to open it, invite people to speak, and
Okay.
when they're done, close it.
So we will go ahead and open the public hearing, 2024-01. Is there anybody in the audience would like to speak in favor or against this? Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you. Now we can go back and make a motion to approve the allocation of the monies to be distributed. Do I have a motion? Have any questions first, concerns? Since we passed the first one.
We'll approve the appropriation.
Second.
Mr. Saylor, Mr. Godecker, and a roll call, please.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Godecker, Deborah Hendrickson,
Yes.
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 pass 5-0.
Thank you. Update on the rate study. Indiana Water. Pressure.
Well, I provided a memo to you that summarized it, and wasn't as bad as it could have been. They started out, Indiana American started out by asking for a 49.3% increase on our type of utility customer, meaning a wholesale sale for resale customer. And there are several others in the state that are in our same position as that kind of a customer, the wholesale purchases of water from them. Ultimately, through a long and somewhat arduous process, the increase that was approved by the IURC was a 38.1% increase. So that's is now I should say that, and that's the overall increase that will be phased in 3 phases. And the first phase, I think 24.1%. Yeah, on the second page. And then the second and third are 4.5% and 6.5%. Now, that,
Did they make that demand? Did they make those numbers up? They asked for the 21.1. We didn't do that.
yeah, they asked.
Wasn't us who made that decision.
No. We were, fighting for as low an increase as we could. We weren't going to get zero because that's, just not practically possible. But the biggest thing that we were trying to fight against was getting a rate increase at a proportion or percentage that was higher than the other customer groups. We were increased by 150% of what the other customer groups were increased. And the reason for that, or the logic behind that, is that we were not paying our fair share. We are sale for resale groups. We're not paying the fair share of what it costs Indiana American to provide its water, as compared in particular to the other groups, the retail customers. And the Indiana American, the IURC, after hearing testimony and evidence and so forth, agreed that that was a correct outcome, and that we needed to have ours adjusted more or increased more than the others so that we avoid being subsidized by the other groups. That was what the IURC concluded. Based upon, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Based upon this increase, that will cause our expense to run our water utility to increase by approximately $140,000 a year. Now, when you spread that out over our customer base and so forth, it's not going to be a one-to-one increase to our customers. We'll have to have our rate consultant do the calculations to determine exactly what that needs to be, but it will be less than the 38% that we are going to be increased to when we pay Indiana American. But our cost of running our utility is much more than just what we pay Indiana American. And so it's increasing a part of the pie, so to speak, but not the whole pie by 38%, if you think about the costs that we have. And I did a back of the napkin calculation, and it looks like it could be maybe in the ballpark of a 12% rate increase to our retail customers. Now, that could be high, that could be low. We'll find out when the rate consultant does their calculations. But that was my back of the napkin attempt at trying to guesstimate what it would flow into for our customers. So that's what we are now having to deal with, and the next step is to have our rate consultant, at least our recommendation is to have the rate consultant crunch the numbers and see what we need to do, if anything. Presumably, we're going to need to, pass on this increase, or at least some of it, to our customers. It seems unlikely that we would be able to absorb all of that, as we have done in several occasions, over the last
11 years.
But that's your call. That's a policy decision. But I would at least recommend that a rate consultant, and I think we already have a rate consultant working on, provide you, their calculations on what it means.
And just an update, we did have a draft one with the rate consultant. They have received these numbers. That they came back to us and asked what types of projects, because they were using the projects that were identified in our water master plans, which our water master plan is from 2011. And so obviously some of those projects are necessarily still relevant. And we put on our capital improvement plan that I shared with you all at the last meeting, some projects as well. And so they came back to us with, this is what we're kind of thinking so far, but they needed a lot more information, so they're not ready to say, this is what we need to kind of propose or discuss with the council. So we are through draft one, stormwater, water, and sewer, as far as the rate study. Any clear indication on which way we need to go, and so if any. So just know that if there's still pay attention to the numbers, and it's still very much in a draft phase, so it's not ready to truly be presented to say, this is their, this is what they are saying or suggesting, and then come to you with, how would you like to proceed?
When was the last time that we had a increase in any of the utilities?
So 2013, it was phased in a phase one and a phase two. So at 2014, I believe, is when water was the last time that was increased. In sewer, it's been over 20 years.
How much it increased then?
I found the report, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I believe it was around, well, I don't want to necessarily.
That's fine. I was just curious.
Doesn't say in the ordinance. It didn't say that, but it said, I don't.
And that's something that we need to let the public know too, because that's going to be a hard decision for us five sitting up here. I mean, it's going to be one of them awkward moments that we're going to have to really think about this. And I think it's something that the public needs to be aware that we haven't had an increase in 20 years. But everybody, with everything, the cost of everything right now, it's out of the roof. And unfortunately, with American doing this, then it's something that we got to consider. But it'd be nice if the public would know a little bit about it too.
Several years ago, we had looked at, a couple town managers ago as well, we had looked at find our own water supply. Whatever happened with that?
So Slim and I met with just last week. We met with the company that did the initial test wells, and was looking at self-sufficiency back in 2020, I think is when that person came up with that conversation. And so we had engaged with them again, met with them, provided the reports of how the test came back, and had asked for a proposal to kind of come back. Let's do another test. Let's do it for a longer period of time, because the aquifer, may not be hasn't been used or tapped, and so there's a lot of stagnant water, and then the minerals and metals and things that we were finding in our report. We felt that, Slim felt that as we kind of get in there and stir things up and show, the reports or the tests may come back a little bit better, but what was coming back is that we would have treatment, so we'd have to build a treatment facility.
I think they only ran it for 2 days when they did the test. But what I'm wanting to do is run it for at least a week and see what happens with the numbers of, like, say, ammonia or, iron and that kind of thing, to see where they go away, or if we're going to have to eventually end up having to treat all that.
So we met with them in June, and then they ghosted us. But recently, Slim has worked with another contractor that can do those same types of testing. And so that is something that this spring, looking at what would it cost for them to do the drawings again, the test wells running again, so we can see what we have out there. We know we have plenty of water, just what we have and how we'd have to treat it.
Kind of plant you'd have to build to treat it.
Yeah.
And that could get up to some big cost.
Right. So.
I just don't want to build a plant and then, 6 months later go, I don't need, $500,000 worth of cleaning equipment or whatever to, now we're trying to figure out a way to sell it. So, I mean, we can figure out what this thing's going to do.
So Carmen, from the Mr. Watson, and then talking about the rate study, concluding with their numbers, what kind of time frame do we have before a decision has to be made? Because I believe in this ordinance here, or this letter, Mr. Watson, it said some almost immediately. So, I mean, that means like now, not 6 months. Pretty soon. So,
Yesterday, the first draft, and I feel like if we get them back the statistics or the project cost of the project, they're more relevant to what we're wanting to do today, not in our 2011 master plan. Basically, the figure that there's another report that we've got our utility office looking at pulling that is looking at I'll call them, if we put our users in buckets based on their usage, we have like figuring out the percentage. Do we have, this percentage of our users without a user? Do we have those higher water users in the state? That's something that our Keystone system is, it doesn't reflect some of the report. So we're trying to monthly reports, and then Reedy said they would sort through the data to kind of put them in buckets to figure out the percentage of our users and how much consumption.
And that raises the question to me about how much is it going, on an average, how much is it going to raise a bill? Like say, on an average for me, like I don't know how much I use, I just pay the bill. And like, is it $10 if it's $5? If they could break it down like that, I think that we would understand it. I know I would understand it a little better than looking at it and saying, oh, this is this much percentage. But if you finally break it down, it's maybe not as strong as it appears right now.
I think the more information and the more transparency we can have, and a couple of examples to the buckets of usage, maybe the percentage to the dollar ratio doesn't have so much heartburn.
I mean, also looking at new users come on, those tap and capacity fees, to making sure that they're paying their fair share to come onto the system. So therefore, like our existing customers having to take the brunt of that, making sure that when the new users come in, again, they're paying their fair share. They'll become a customer, but to tap into our system and what capacity, so that's part of this study as well. And then the other thing is that the Reedy may come back and say, here's your percentage. We feel like in order to do these projects, in order to forecast for the next 10 years your revenues, this is what your percentage needs to be. Obviously, that percentage is based on what you all would allow. Because again, it is a tough pill to swallow anytime you talk about raising anything. Other than people's salaries, the joke before, but that's kind of what we need. That this body would be the ones that say, okay, they say X, but we would feel more comfortable with only this much of an increase. Where we can bring those scenarios to you to say, in order for us to do XYZ project, we would need this much money. This is how we would pay for that. And that's why on this, I'm not just saying we're going to go to our customers. We have to agree to have funding mechanism to pay for that. But just the cost of doing business within our utility, those costs go up too, like you had said, to replace the valves and things like that. So it would be this body's decision if there is an increase, that increase.
And that's why I'd like as much information as possible. We're going to be known as the council who does.
12%, possibly 12%. And
Right.
if your bill is $100, it's $12 increase.
Correct. On water.
Right.
It would be because you charge your sewer off your water usage. But,
Yes.
But the thing about it, we're only raising the water. But we're going to be known that, we might be known for the ones who do that. Correct. Right. We're getting an answer, but like I said, to be known, we're going to be known for the council that had to do an increase. And so I'd like to make sure I got all the paperwork to do it right. That way, if I make the decision, I want to make what's best. And I'm planning on dying in this town, so I'm going to live here forever. So it's good enough for me.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thanks, Carmen.
Mr. Watson?
Again?
Can we possibly go back to Stillwater Glen Or where are we at?
Well, I am doing a final proof before
I got one more thing.
Okay.
before I send it to Melissa to.
And we'll circle back. So the last item on the agenda is recognition for a Women's Leader Award. Miss Carmen nominated for. She went down to Franklin, my understanding, was awarded this award. So publicly, I just wanted to recognize her for her job being done and everything. But I also want to recognize not only her, but Slim, police, fire, all the town employees, because I think as a whole, this comes from the leadership and everybody jumping in about the tornado issue and things like that. So congratulations to Carmen, but congratulations to everybody for all their hard work,
Yeah.
including the council and just everybody. So very proud of everybody. So I just wanted to make that point. So thank you.
Thank you.
Department heads, Mr. Slim, do you have anything else?
Thanks, Lou.
No? Not at the moment, you sure? Okay.
No Cal updates?
I shot him in Martinsville.
I'm getting me emotional, Cal.
Chief Ship, like the,
No, I'm gonna keep it open.
We'll knock you out.
Call our Cal in Morristown.
Currently, we're looking for a grant, Duty Best. So we started a procedure on that. We had a gentleman come down and show us the best and South Best. That procedure is a 50-50 grant. We put up in the front, and we're looking for 50% once we need. It's just a further stage that probably looking at, I mean, in the year or first in the following year. If so, then that shouldn't be within the budget. We're working on getting the best updated. Speaking of the tornado, we got, after the tornado, we kind of critiqued everything that we need or went wrong. And what we had a lot of communications really went down. We didn't have, phones wasn't working real good. We couldn't get out. Our radios was jammed up. So we've been looking, I've had Tyler and all the people to look into something that maybe can help us on this with our April 8th eclipse coming. They're predicting the same thing, that everything's gonna get jammed up and won't be able to communicate. So we're looking at a system. It works off a repeater. It'll be individual radios that'll get out, even if our phones don't work or our police radios don't work. These will still function. It works off a repeater, and we've had it tested. We've been testing it now for approximately 3 weeks, and it'll go town-wide, and we're only the outskirts of the town limits, so it's working out real good. We're looking at a price of about $2,500, and that's buying 20 radios, and that's with the repeater system and everything. That'll give us enough radios for the officers, plus 3 or 4 for the town officials to use if we have the eclipse and we get dealing with some of the community. The biggest problem during the tornado, we couldn't communicate right away, so we're looking into that. Looking into that led to another problem that we're looking at, and I'll probably come to you with some estimates later, a couple, 2-3 months later. It's a system that keeps our internet up. It's mobile. It goes in our, move it around, but if the internet goes down, and that helps the town as well, it keeps the internet going down. We keep our function of our computers and everything working. We're looking at that, and it's still working on a price on it. I'll bring you guys later when we get that ready. Again, you've heard me talk about, we got 5 to 6 vehicles to get rid of, our old vehicles. I'm looking at different options, and the best option that I've seen is taking them to an auction as a group. I've talked to some used car dealers, I think, and I've got one that maybe help us do that. It seems to get the best money out of our vehicles in return for what we've had, so make the council aware that that's what we're looking at doing. Approval to be able to do that, so.
If I had a question, if you have 5 or 6 vehicles and the town has needs for potential replacements for like doing inspections, is there something that could be worked out to where maybe that vehicle or 2 could be utilized? And
there is.
How would that work?
We try to get our reimbursement out of the cars that we pay for through the budget. And they're going pretty expensive, but yeah, I mean, there's some there that can be used throughout the town, so.
I mean, is that something, if there's a need that I guess can be worked out to where,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sense of another department buying a vehicle if potentially you have vehicles and then work out the budget.
What are the vehicles you have? What are the vehicles you have?
Got a 2009 Dodge Durango that's in great shape.
I don't know how many of the vehicles the town would actually want to acquire.
Yeah, it's 2009 Dodge Charger, a 2012 Dodge Charger, 2015 Dodge Charger, and then 2018 Dodge Ram. So, I mean, it's something they can look at, but it's probably best to cut our cord, look down.
Running my mileage wise, I'm guessing the 09s are way out.
We're 09s are right at 100,000.
Oh, no.
We kept them down.
Because I was thinking truck for Brian. Brian drives around that Jeep doesn't even have heat or air.
He doesn't need it.
Huh?
That keeps him busy.
We like
He had to catch a train because he doesn't have a vehicle.
So we can look in.
Hopefully the residents can catch him as he's driving.
We did it in our place of employment. They've done it there, is taking cop car.
Facebook star.
Oh my gosh.
We did get our new guns in. Finally come in. We all, as a group, full department went today and qualified. It's amazing at what the red dot sites do, all of our performances and qualifications. It's really helps tremendously. Everybody's shooting very well with the new red dot after getting used to them, so that's a plus for us. And
Have you used them yet?
yeah, we just qualified.
They just close. No, not in real life.
In real life.
No, we don't want to do that. There you go.
Saying. Have you used them? Do they work really well?
What happened? Do you trade in the old guns? Okay, I was. I never knew that. I was always curious about that.
Someone retires and you let them have their gun. Are they going to keep that one?
If that's their issued gun, yes. At the time of retirement.
I think you should have kept the old ones and give them one of those.
When you're looking at somebody's put you in 15 to 20 years, I mean, guns appreciation.
You don't need no line. You don't need no red line.
This is about the standard cost of any gun, so it's not this one's more expensive than another, and the trade-in is already worked in the quote, so we the honor by hurting them again. So we've already got the big trade.
Just trying to get you before you're retiring.
I'm thinking that's my husband, you know. Brenda can't run that fast.
It says a butter churn attached to a Picatinny rail.
Also, I'd like, I mean, speaking of, Richard, you talked earlier about the employees, the town, everybody being real up this back. I'd like to throw out a little shout to our guys. We had the U.S. Marshals in town, there was 6 of them. They've been hunting a guy since May that was wanted on federal warrant serious firearms charges. There's several other warrants out throughout other counties. They've been tracking since May and couldn't find it. They started pinging his phone and they started getting an area in Whiteland, this area, which we start looking at truck stops when they're traveling. Our guys had come to us and wanted to know if we had any ideas or any way we could possibly track. They had no information on what they drove. They just had the guy's name and a description. So our guys got working at it pretty hard. Reverse text to DMV, located a plate number that's a cat he's registered a while years back, and got a description of a pickup truck. So we truck stops in the area, and they located the subject sitting in his truck at Pilot. So we set up a perimeter on him. U.S. Marshals had state police coming, SWAT team, because it's, like I say, it's a serious federal charges for gun. Subject got mobile, following throughout our town. Wanted him to go mobile because they wanted to see where he was going to go, and they finally got him with Franklin. But if it wasn't for our guys doing all the checking, we was able to get a plate number and was able to locate him. So they did a real great job, and it made a good impression with the U.S. Marshals, and they were
awesome.
Great.
And the officers their research was only for a few hours, a couple of hours, and they found him.
Right, they've been working since May to find him, and they just come to us and give us what information that we was able to track him. Staff had found him. All we had was he's pinging in this area, which pinging phone is they ping the guy's phone that they thought he had, and it shows areas that he's been in.
Mm-hmm.
And we was able to put it together and get a vehicle description. Got him, so they did an excellent job on that. And one final thing, the 18th of this month, all the chiefs and the sheriff are meeting at Center Grove. We're putting together another school active shooter class. We're going to be using Center Grove School, but it's a full county participation, which we've always done. We've done it in Whiteland the last time. We're meeting Monday, and we're getting that work together. We'll go through next week, do a mock active shooter, keep all our guys sharp and to know what to do. So God forbid it would happen, but we know what to do and go in and do it. And so we're working with everybody on that.
Awesome.
I've got a question on the radios. Now, are we purchasing them radios or are we renting them?
No, we're purchasing them, and we've got a price of $2,500. We'll purchase 20 radios. It'll do our repeater. Then we gotta have out in the antenna we need.
We just switched over to them too, so that
Would have chargers and batteries. And the whole.
Is the fire department getting any?
We've got 20. We've ordered some.
Okay.
so they haven't asked us. We're done yet.
We got enough, like Slim and Carmen and Hitch, we've got extra radios to put out there, right? So we're not.
Can you get a base to this, base model? Like just a base unit?
Oh, for the base.
Yeah, just a base place that you could have a base central location, home base.
Base unit concept.
These are portable.
So they're just all portable. Okay.
I'm sure you could get a base unit, but that you can dispatch out of, is that?
Right, that's what I was thinking. I mean, if it was one of them things, versus trying to do all that. I mean, I was just curious because that's how we're set up with the base model of our office. Then we push up.
It just, the tornado kind of gives a good. And it's really expensive to need. Communication system.
Absolutely.
We got a good discount on the.
Yeah, we had a good.
The Julian negotiator.
Ours comes off of Center Grove area.
We tested it, I mean, we're testing it, and it's reached out for, we're not past what it's, so it's working very well before we decide to purchase it.
Deal.
And we have it in our budget, that's kind of.
Well, it's better be prepared, than not to have it and need it. Thank you for the updates and congratulations on your officers on that U.S. Marshal. That's pretty neat.
you.
Okay, Carmen?
Before you start, I'll just give you an update. The ordinances are being printed, so you have new versions to look at. As soon as she's done getting those off the printer, we'll be ready.
Literally comes hot off the press.
Hot off the press. Yeah.
Real quick, for the fire department, Chief Funkhauser had the district board meeting, in Burnsville tonight, so they're unable to be here, but, Zach, 2 years ago, you all approved a geo bond, and there was some dollars set aside for the fire department for a heavy rescue. Burgersville is actually, they've replaced their heavy rescue, and they are going through the process right now of putting it out for any other districts or territories that may want to purchase that from Burgersville. As of right now, they haven't had any bites on it. And so then next is to offer it to other municipalities. And he would like to, he asked his district board tonight if he could offer it to the town of Whiteland, to our fire department, and asked me if I could come to you all and potentially put a not to exceed amount as far as an offer if we are to make an offer on this piece of equipment. Right now in the geo bond, we have the fire department related left in that has not been spent in just a little over $31,000. His suggestion is not to exceed $150,000 for the heavy rescue. It is they're very expensive, Tim. Saw your eyebrows go up. So as of right now, like I said, in the geo bond, we have $131,000 that he does have in the fire cumulative. There is significant, it's about $200,000 in that. So you can see if it is something that is very interested in potentially purchasing. I don't remember off the top of my head if we were talking about it because I got the ourselves or it's not take so something other company wants this goes through the bidding process between districts and territories. It's all one thing. Again, if we were able to acquire this rescue, we would either sell or surplus our old rescue that we have. So this would take off one of those items that we have that is beyond its asset life that I put on our capital improvement plan, and it will allow us to get a newer piece of equipment.
Currently on heavy or light?
They have a light one, but what did I say? Medium probably.
Like in weight wise or something, or capabilities or lift?
Capability wise, I would say it's probably medium. So it's not like the Greenwoods Rescue. We have some of what they've got, but we don't have a full-on scenario. What I want to say, no, not that, but like when people can't get the truck stop, they can come in and put everything and all this stuff. We kind of got smaller scale than that.
What would they do with the old one?
Well, they would either
sell it.
I mentioned.
Have we had anybody look at this truck, like do a maintenance report on it to make sure that it's in tip-top shape and that with the mileage it's got on it and all that? Because that's a lot of money for a used vehicle. Right. Well, this is common for fire departments to do this, is to try to find a municipality to use it. I've dealing with it over there too, and I've talked to our
Mr. Funkhauser did a lot of vetting on the previous one.
It's just shadow we bought. Looked at it, but a little bit of stuff to it.
Right.
That's another one. If we have to put a little bit of money into it, we're updating, getting better. So.
I mean, that's the only thing I was curious about is.
Would be done though, right? Just a general or inquiry on the maintenance and stuff like that on the record. I mean, on the previous truck we did, the vetting and due diligence was pretty extensive. but I would assume that would be staying the same total count there.
Don't we have the same fire chief as Bargersville, right?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that cause us any issues?
I think so.
Okay.
Is there something in particular you're concerned?
No, I mean, if we're buying a department that has the same food. Okay.
He doesn't have the authority.
It's the district board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they have an appraisal on what they think this truck is worth?
Yes, he asked me if I would come and ask if there would be enough to exceed, like I said, in the GEO bond for fire. We had put in, I believe it was 100,000 for the rescue. This is, potentially a little bit more, well, a lot more. But we can see if they have, timing, if they're looking to get rid of it quicker, or if he can if he gets his district board on board. With, an amount. He just didn't know if you guys would be willing to kind of set a not to exceed amount, or if we need to come back with more information, we can certainly do that.
Well, I guess realistically to me, we're kind of the fiscal body, and their board would be generally the one that would make the determination of whether it's worth it or not, right? Am I misunderstanding that?
We're just putting in a bid, basically, and they're trying to get the highest amount they can out of it.
She was planning to kind of petition the district board is that, courts for it within maybe allow us to upgrade what we currently have if there's an update, it's beyond the asset life. So then we would, if there's, as we do mutual aid, and then it allows us to then have another heavy rescue within close proximity if there's something massive that, so I know that of course he's going to go to bat to really petition to allow it, not only to make it sounds help us out.
Has he got an idea what, if we sell ours, what it'd be worth?
He did not give me that. He said basically, we would want to use the GEO bond that we had already earmarked for a heavy rescue, that they had some additional monies that they could use. And we would need, potentially, if we went up to an offer, I'll just bring it up, 19,000 to come up, one to be able to make that through.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that I need an answer tonight, but throw that out to you all. Anybody?
I'm certainly not opposed to it, but I guess I would like a little more.
Perfect.
I agree. I would like
Information and
I'd like to know how much ours might potentially be worth. That way we know when it comes to this, off of that, and see what goes up. Right. And
Or then you can afford that.
if I buy it from you.
Just we are looking at the farmers market, and this year, across this winter, they decided here this month to announce the project. One of the projects that would go along with that is to repave this parking lot. But this parking lot is very limited, and so we had an idea to collaborate with another entity to maybe host it on their site. And so we reached out to the Johnson County Public Library. They have great visibility. They have a lot bigger of a parking space, and their board has said that they would allow us to host our farmers market there. And so we would like to do that. And if anybody has any heartburn about that, it would be great visibility on 31, a lot more space. And they already have a clientele that are coming in. We would move it to Tuesday evenings, just because Friday nights just doesn't work. And we can't compete with the Friday night Greenwood and the Bargersville, so to kind of find out everything. So unless somebody has some serious heartburn, and we've got a draft MOU that I will have Stephen make sure that we're good to go. But basically, we're gonna take care we'll take care of any trash that's left behind and clean up our messes, that kind of thing. But allow the vendors to come and set up on the very west side so they'd be closest to City One. They can use the facilities in there if they need to go to the bathroom or if the kiddos can go in with the books and go on with it. So, but they have sent me a draft in for us to consider, but everything else, it would be the
I just got one question. Do we have a lot of residents behind us or over there that walk to this farmer's market? No, I'm saying, walk from here.
No, most people just.
I was.
And so, we're kind of, we don't want to let it go. It's raining, but we also don't want to just keep hitting our heads up against this. Try to make it, like I said, they already have here. Right now they're doing their seed library, and I'm trying to talk about programs and education that they can do around a garden. They have raised beds in the back behind the building. So I think there's going to be a good collaboration with our organization.
Thank you.
And then we would be looking for volunteers to help us out, manage the market, and just make sure that people are under control. That was from Angie. So if if anybody would like to help us run the market, just let us know. Deb said we would. Okay, great. There's a walk there.
I can walk to it, yeah.
And then one thing, I'm going to reach out to each of you individually, but I'd like to schedule a strategic session with the council and potentially the redevelopment commission, because we've got a lot of you all throwing something at the wall and seeing what sticks. I want to make sure that we're all, that Slim and I and the department heads, that we're on the same page and making sure that we're kind of focused on where you all want us to focus, and we can kind of share those big ideas and make sure that we're all on the same page. So I'll reach out to you guys individually and kind of see what we're doing. And then obviously, if we do it as this body, it would have to be a public indoor type meeting. The last thing I have is on March 18th, we've heard a lot from the residents impacted by the tornado that they had not so great experiences with their insurance companies, and so we're hosting it, but we're not in charge of it. It was just kind of bringing some entities together to allow people to come and provide their experience and learn. So the Indiana Department of Insurance will be here on Monday, March 18th at the library, along with the county assessor's office. People that had significant damage, a lot of them don't know that they can have their properties reassessed. And we still have some structures that aren't rebuilt. So why should they, have to, let's look at that and see what we can do to help our residents. So we're doing that just to kind of, again, to help our folks that are impacted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do have one thing that kind of, I'll just add to Carmen's report. She and I have been communicating about current 4-year trash contract, and it expires July 31 of this year. And so we talked about having a new bidding for that, have that ready to present to the council at the May council meeting. So if there's time, if there is a change in who the provider is, that there's time to transition.
We have to let them know like 60 days ahead of time or something.
I doubt it's a fixed 4-year contract.
Okay.
So I'll double check that, but I don't think it
There's
automatic.
no automatic renewal, right?
I'll double check that.
Hopefully not.
No, I don't believe so.
As long as I know our uniform people have to have notice, so.
Okay, with that being said, are we ready to revisit?
I think so.
First batch, the real.
Yeah. And I'm gonna method down, they're crisscross. This shows you what has changed from what you saw. There. And once you've taken a look at that, I'll send you the final executable version that shows all of the changes as compared to the 2022 PUD version. Adam and he agree with what's presented.
Am I supposed to take two or one?
You take the top bundle and then pass the rest.
They're facing opposite directions.
I think they are double sided.
Got it.
Have you replaced with exhibit 1?
Maybe I'm reading this wrong. Wainscot of brick or stone to a front up to the bottom of the front window sill or 36 inches, whichever. Okay, never mind. I'll leave you.
Substantively, there's only 3 spots that have.
Yeah.
I think under siding, we need to strike the vinyl siding no less than 0.45 millimeter, don't we? Maybe used in lieu of fibrous milk.
I think that makes sense.
Where's that at?
It's in B, under siding material, the second sentence. Yeah, A says no vinyl, but then B substitute vinyl.
Yeah, this B on the back. I agree.
Good catch. Since it was in black.
Every once in a while. They do occasionally pay me to review these things. Since this got unfavorable, if we were to pass, it's to them.
It does, and actually that's
going to jam up.
That's going to make an issue. What the statute says is that the planning commission has to consider it within 45 days. Doesn't say that they waits that long. They can do it tomorrow. 3 days from now with the open door law. But that does obviously create a timing issue. And I don't know if you want to speak to that or not. We want to make sure you understand what we're talking about. I mean, in an ordinary course, it would go back to the April Plan Commission meeting, which would be the first Tuesday in April, not sure what day that would
have to come back here again?
Well, it depends. Depends on if the Plan Commission, if they agree with the council in April, then it doesn't have to come back. But if they disagree and say, no, we don't agree and don't think it should be passed, then it does have to come back, which would be at the April council meeting, which would be the second Tuesday in April, for the council to reaffirm that, yes, indeed, it approves this version of the ordinance.
So it'd be a 2-week extension.
We can't get by that.
Yeah.
Oh, it absolutely has to go back to the plan committee. There's no question about that. It's just a matter of whether a special meeting or meetings are feasible or not.
So April 2nd is the Plan Commission meeting, then April 9th is the Town Council.
And your contract expires on the 25th-ish?
The 15th, and then we have a 10-day cure period. Well, that is what it is. There's nothing we can do about that.
If the plan commission's inclined to ratify it, they could call a special meeting and do so.
Can do that?
Oh, yeah, they have to give 3 days open door notice.
48 hour
Yeah.
open door law.
We did that once before when we was on planning for the cell tower.
Well, we can, depending on how this vote goes, we'll go back and do our work and communicate with Carmen tomorrow about any possibility of that.
So we have to, we have to make a decision on the revision before they worry about a plan commission issue.
Yeah.
It sounds like if we take no action, the deal's dead. If we take action, the deal may.
But even with the revision and what Joe mentioned, there's still a third revision. So we would potentially vote on this less
That's that second sentence.
item B.
And item B. And I've already made that revision, that deletion on my.
Okay.
So they'll get that.
And that'll be what you would sign. But in whatever motion is made, you want to make that's included in.
So, Tim, do you have any other questions? Anybody over here?
Nope.
We have a motion.
I will move to accept ordinance 2024-05 with the amendment that sub B, the sentence vinyl siding no less than 0.045 mm in thickness may be used in lieu of fiber cement material be struck.
Okay. There's a vote.
Do you have to clarify the revised ordinance?
We do need to make sure that it, as revised, including deleting the second sentence of item B, which reads vinyl siding no less than 5. So, but I did want to come back to the comments early in the discussion. I think Carmen, you made some comments about the railroad and buffering railroad and trail along the railroad. And it wasn't clear to me exactly where things ended and developer wanted to do on those and whether those can be imposed through the planning process later on. But,
Along the river.
if that's anything that's critical and a concern, we are concerned whether or not it will be enforceable or if the developer agrees to do those things. Now is the time, I would say that, the rezoning, now is the time and important that you want to make sure it's taken care of. Now's the time to include that in the ordinance. Get commitments.
Like hooking that path up, like Carmen was talking, bringing that path in, even though some people might not agree about a path being by railroad tracks, but it is attached to Greenwood, and Greenwood's going to have them out there. It'd be nice for the residents to walk to the end and back.
Having that path and a railroad, would you have some sort of fencing or partition or something along that path to keep kids from going on the railroad or something? I mean,
No,
I guess my thought on that, on the specific issue of buffering is they've got to sell the house. It's gonna be in their interest because this is a wonky location, a really wonky one. So I'm not super concerned about it, but if anybody else is.
We'll work with staff. Look, we've been, you guys a long time. We'll work with staff. I'm sure we do with staff.
I'm gonna amend my motion to make it clear that, we are using the amended version generated by Mr. Watson after some deliberation in the council meeting, and with the amendment that second sentence of sub B referring to 0.045 mm vinyl be struck.
the commitment of the developer to work with it.
Oh,
proper document, whatever.
Yeah, I don't, that would be amending this again, and I think that would market kind of take care of itself on that.
I think it's, yeah, she's going,
It's a given that they're gonna work with us.
yeah.
I don't see that as a need to be formally inserted. So that's my motion. Take it, amend it, and leave it. We can go the other way.
Do we have a motion and a second? Mr. Godecker?
Yes, sir.
Can we take a vote, please?
Tim Brown,
No.
Brad Godecker,
Yes.
Deborah Hendrickson,
I'm going to say yes.
Joe Saylor,
Yes.
Richard Hill,
Yes.
pass 4-1.
Stephen, I'm confusing myself, but if it goes to plan and they kick it back unfavorable, do we have to do 2 readings at that point?
No, it's still a zoning ordinance. It's subject to.
Oh, all right, thanks.
Do remind me though that there is another statutory requirement I need your help on tonight, and that is when it gets sent back to the plan commission, you're supposed to provide a written statement of the reasons for the amendment. So if you tell me what your reasons are, I can draft it up and we can send it with that.
Do you want that from the mover or the chair or?
Just some sort of consensus. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I say, I just need a concept to work with.
And your doctor,
And I'll make it nice and clean.
he'll make it nice and legal.
You need a statement about the revision?
Yeah, I guess my, as a movement, I would say that, the reasons are the extended 30 feet setback. Fine. Outweigh the addition of a 3rd car garage, in my mind, outweigh the downside of the reduced side yard setbacks, as well as the lack of staggering.
Back to the original.
Yes, when contrasted with the existing arbor PUD.
Well, appreciate you guys very much. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you for coming and talking to us, appreciate it.
Thank you.
You as well.
Here.
Have a good night, sir. Thank you.
Taste. Redwood. That's how you get.
Mm-hmm.
It's in drives, I mean, developed.
Didn't even agree.
Yeah, but getting in a hurry.
I don't think it's.
Just, but I'm good with whatever they.
Bill might not make it.
Oh, I'm sure they will. That's all right, but I just don't like things pushed down our throat. Say, we got to do it now because they got bad planning, that they've been fighting this and the guy's going to kill the property sale. Well, that's kind of not our problem. Our problem is to make sure it's correct. And I have issues with the no end that someone wants to come in here and push something that, and especially sitting there with the amount of aggressive looks, it's hard for me to stomach.
May not even agree with the owners.
But I'm only one guy. Like I say, the majority's good with it. I'm good with it too. I just got to vote what I think. You ate too many of them.
Do you have a proper statement? That's,
I've got one for you. Yeah. Thank you.
public comment? Okay, we'll adjourn.
I got a council comment.
Oh,
I think would you,
yes.
As I think most of you guys know, New Whiteland had reached out to us. We passed a resolution like 4 or 5 years ago about being open to doing feasibility on a merger. Brad and I sat down with John Purdy and John Parham because they, I think, refused to consider it at that time, but now at least some members of their council are interested in engaging in a dialogue with us. And so I'll meet with anybody. And Brad and I sat down, talked to the Johns, and I don't know that the majority of their council would pursue it again at this point, but I think there's at least a possibility. We currently have a resolution in effect. And I think kind of what the loose discussion at the end of it was to ask the councils if they would consider doing a financial feasibility, and see whether or not it makes sense financially for both towns to even consider it. And so, said, well, at the next council meeting, I'll bring it up and see what the council feels about whether or not they would be open to pursuing basically just a financial analysis. Get Stone or Reedy or somebody to do a financial analysis and see whether or not it makes sense from both sides. That kind of was what I saw as an initial first step, and they seem to, I think they seem to agree. So I just put that out there to see what they think, what, if anything, the council wants to do at this point. And I don't know if Brad has anything to add to that.
That pretty much reflects the bulk of the conversation was, hey, this is of interest, but it wouldn't be of interest if it didn't make financial sense. Like, hey, we're going to try to go through all of this trouble and hassle, and it would result in higher taxes and more spending and stuff like that. Whereas, like, if we can establish that this would be a financial benefit to municipalities, then we'd have something to continue the conversation and move forward on. But I mean, I would want to know. Like, it sounds of interest to me, certainly, but only if we can establish that we think it would result in, less overhead and better financial position for the town. And so the only way to know that for sure is, have a commission, a study to be done to affirm that. Like, I mean, the last thing we'd want to do is spend years and years going through and draw up things, and then we learn that it's going to end up costing us more money, and for whatever reason, for having one town instead of two and a larger group and whatnot. And so I think it certainly seems of interest. So like the ask is to have the financial study done, not to approve of this is happening, right?
Well, I think the first thing we would have to do would be to get estimates, probably 3 estimates for a financial review.
I'd like to take that just a step further and back up. I appreciate you guys' efforts and willingness to go talk to him. From my personal standpoint, I think the timing is a little off. So I think before we potentially request a financial analysis, we probably collectively should be on board with if this is something we want to pursue at this particular time, or, I guess I have concerns about the financial stability, and do we even have this budgeted to potentially do these type of things in 2024? So my recommendation would be we need to see if collectively as a party of 5, if we're interested in pursuing this in 2024 or tabling it or whatever before we go to potentially what you've suggested.
Well, all I've suggested is that part of making the decision of whether we do that in 2024 is that we get an estimate of what it would cost to do a financial study.
So here, and I'm listening, as you're saying you'd like to get a cost of what you don't want one done, you want just to get a cost of it before we can come to town. What I would like to do is, I know a lot of people don't like this, but to keep the town out of this, I would feel more comfortable in doing an executive meeting where all 5 of us sit down and we all discuss this amongst before we start bringing it out, because it's already out. A lot of people don't. But with the rate increase and everything going on, it just concerns me to throw more things on the town that we can handle. And so I would like, and this is just my suggestion, is if we all want to sit down like in an executive, and then we could discuss it open policy. We can't vote on nothing in an executive, I get that, but at least we could have a meeting where we could talk free without being in, not hiding nothing, just saying what our concerns are, working with each other as a team, and then making, after that, making the right decision in a meeting.
And I leave that to Stephen as to whether or not that's possible.
Yeah.
An exception to the open door.
Yeah, my concern and my
Now that's open.
feeling, belief without looking at it, and I'm in the process of pulling it back up, is that I don't think that you would be allowed legally, but I'm gonna look to see if it.
We are allowed to have executive meetings. We're not allowed to vote on anything in them.
Yeah, but
You
there's
can only have the
specific
executive
things.
session.
Okay, that's what I'm
For
curious. So
certain
that's what
topics.
I'd want to
For certain
know,
topics.
is doing this is feasible for us?
Or, I mean, we could discuss it the next 5 minutes since we're here in a
I'm just trying
regular
to,
meeting.
I just would like to get, where we just don't get a lot of rumors started out in the town that what people's already calling saying that they're combining this and combining. I mean, it runs wild no matter what you talk about.
And that's part of why I thought that the appropriate thing to do would, so that we could all, whatever, was to say, they reached out to us.
Right.
I'll sit down and talk to anybody, you all know that. Before anything else, I would want to get an estimate on what it would cost to start looking at feasibility. I think that's the first prudent thing to do, is to figure out what it would cost to even see if this makes any financial sense.
We're not wanting to pursue it. We're just wanting to pursue the cost. That way you could present it to council. Council can say, yeah, we got this fund. We're not stepping on it. We're just
And if we don't even want to, if the consensus of the council is that we don't want to pursue estimates, that's up to the council. That just seemed to me to be the logical, because we do have a resolution currently in effect on this.
What's the resolution?
Resolution is to pursue feasibility, with the town of New Whiteland. They are. And so
Where is that at?
we passed it, the first year I was on the council, so it would have
You're
been
talking about the 2018 document?
probably 2018. That sounds about right. And obviously we have the ability to undo that resolution anytime or whatnot. I don't know whether New Whiteland will even say, let's get estimate. I don't know what they're gonna do, but, if we were to,
I'm just curious what their reasoning is now.
I think that the financial study would probably make that apparent.
I call it what it is. No one wanted to belly up with Norm. Guys, I'm just going to tell you how it was. That's what it's about.
Oh, I mean, there's a whole thing.
Right, but that's one of the big drawbacks, because I've heard it from every council.
Not what I heard.
Well, that's what I've heard from every council. So you can hear a bunch of different things, but it is what it is. They want to do it now, that's great. I'm not opposed of it. I think it's early, but I think it's great.
I don't think that, anybody's gotten that far. I think pie in the sky, it seems like a good idea. However, I'd be the first to vote against it if we, ultimately commissioned a feasibility study and it was like, yeah, this is actually going to cost you more money. And so that's would be the first step of 10,000 steps in the process. It would be like, okay, hey, what does this cost? Does this cost $7,000 or $16,500? I don't know. And so we'd take a look at it and maybe we'd be like, hey, that's worth it. But maybe New Whiteland would take a look at it and say, nope, it's not worth it. And so then we probably wouldn't proceed. This would be like steps that we would want to communicate and take together. If it's like, it's palatable for both sides to be like, okay, yeah, we're okay at this point in time with commissioning this, allocating these funds. We wouldn't want to do it if it was dead on arrival on their side, and probably the same. So, right now, I have no idea what that would cost to ask a financial institution to do it, but I think that's the first piece of information.
So and it doesn't cost nothing to ask for a quote on it. So it is free. So it's kind of not hurting anything. My take on it's still a little early, but it still doesn't hurt to put it in the back of our minds. You know what I'm saying?
If you're asking somebody to look up numbers, it will cost you.
No. We're just asking for an estimate how much they think it costs for us to do this. He's saying, no, that's not going to cost us no money. We're just trying to get a ballpark.
Stone, Reedy,
And they'll charge you. They will charge you.
Well, they'll charge you if they'll charge you if you commission a scope of work. If you're just asking for what are we looking at here?
What have they known in the past?
Yeah, what are we looking at here for a financial analysis of these two towns?
Have you done it before? Do you kind of a ballpark?
One doesn't give us a ballpark. If we commission a scope of work, yeah, that's one thing, but that's not what we're talking about.
He's just asking for just a kind of a napkin thing, like you were saying.
And on that note, I saw in the packet, conflict. Do we need to do anything with that?
I removed that.
Depends.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
I removed that because I collectively, we need to work this out, figure out what we're doing.
Well,
And I don't think that form in my eyes was premature to be brought up.
okay. Well, we do need to have the advice of counsel to do anything. Because currently we're creating a conflict for Mr. Watson. So if the consensus of council is not at this time to seek estimates, I guess let's say that, if we would like to pull numbers, or let's see what it would cost, ballpark the cost, we can do that.
I have no problem if it's not costing us nothing to see. But if we have to spend money, then it's kind of a concern of mine. But just to ask, I mean, I have no problem. I still think it's too early, but it wouldn't be a bad idea if we had in the back of our mind what we think. As long as it's costing us $0, just someone doing, I think it's not, in my opinion. But I still think this is early with everything we got going on. With Carmen having to deal with things, Slim's having to deal with things, the town's having to deal with things. To do something strong like that right now would throw everything into a tailspin. I mean.
Well, I think kind of as Brad said, this is the first of 1,000 steps that even actually happen. Are you in favor of getting numbers now?
It don't cost us nothing. I'm in favor for it. Do I think it's early? 100%. If you had to have me vote on it right now, my answer would be no.
Oh, no, I don't blame you on that either.
Yeah. To go on and get a price, I'm always curious to, window shop, I guess you'd say, window shop, see what it might cost us. And then we might know in 2024 that, hey, we know we're going to have to do this when we're budgeting or something. They could put it in the budget. Hey, we know Carmen can look at it and say, hey, we probably ought to budget this, but add 10% to it because we know with everything going up. Might be a good bit of information to have to know if you even want to start a process. So, I mean, I'm not opposed of getting a pre-estimate at any time.
No, I probably wouldn't vote for it.
Vote for what?
I wouldn't vote for getting estimates at this time.
What are your thoughts, Deb?
I think we have a lot on our plate right now.
I agree.
You can ask Carmen, we have a lot on our plate right now.
I'm not asking you guys. Say this. I'm not arguing that anybody do it. I'm saying that if we want to proceed on the resolution that we have out there, my thought was that the first step would be to get a ballpark estimate of what even starting the process would cost. But if the council, and the consensus of the council, of a majority of the council is that we don't want to start that, if we don't even want to get those numbers now, that's fine too.
Like I said, numbers are numbers to me. I don't have a heartburn either way, but I want to do what's best for him.
Not to argue the point, like you said, I'm just saying, I personally think we have some other
major issues we got to deal with.
Like our water concern and things like that.
Stormwater.
And do something like that, I mean, obviously it's out in the public, unfortunately. It's a delicate subject, so tread very lightly, but to potentially have a vote to pursue on the financials to inquire, perception is we're leaning that way.
I can see that.
I would rather work on some of these things that we talked about tonight and what Carmen Carmen has suggested before we branch into that. I'm not saying I'm not opposed
agree with
to that. I think the timing is a little questionable.
I'm not opposed to it, I just don't think this is the time.
Yeah, that's my only concern. It's just not even a time for us to think, but quotes for.
So am I correct that at present, the consensus of the council is to not seek quotes? I'm fine with getting quotes. I think Brad's fine with getting quotes, but
Tim said he was fine.
If it doesn't cost the town money, I can't stress this enough. But if it costs $5, I'm not for it. I'm not for it at all. But if it's free, I have no problem. I still think it's too early. I'm not going to vote if we did get it and then we go and say we're going to start it now. I'm going to vote against it regardless. That's because I'm early on. I think we got a lot of stuff to worry about. But to me, a free quote's a free quote.
Okay.
If it don't cost us $5, but that, like I said, I'll do what the majority, but I believe that a free quote's a free quote.
Separately are the deciding vote, Tim.
Say, if you want my opinion on it, a free quote, if it does not cost the town money. I can't stress that enough.
You want me to send Reedy and Stone an ask, or so that Carmen doesn't have to mess with it, or does?
I guess what I'd like to do before we do this is I'd like to make sure 100% that when we ask this, they're not going to charge us for anything. Before we say, hey, you know, we got a thing, we're wanting to get a judgment on this. Is this going to cost me to get a quote? Before I can, because we can ask and then they send us a bill, it's kind of too late.
Well, with municipal contract law, it ain't too late.
Okay. I don't know I'm not a lawyer and I just don't want us, because I don't think it's worth it to even venture down that alley right now with the merger, with everything we got going on.
How does this sound? I will ask Adam if he will give me a ballpark. Adam of Adams of Stone Municipal.
Okay.
Give me a ballpark. When I get that ballpark, I will send it out to the rest of the council. And then if anybody wants to do anything at that point, we can address it at the next meeting.
Is that fair enough? I mean, we're doing it just like that. It's on an email. I mean, I have no problem with it. I'll be honest. Free quote's a free quote, but I still can't stress enough. It's way too early.
I'll ask Adam and I'll send you guys whatever he tells me.
I think it's fair. So we have to vote on that, or are we just going to say no and that's it?
There's no
Action to take. Oh, so there's no action to take? Okay, well, that worked out pretty good, then it don't look bad on me.
I'll ask Adam.
That's all I'm curious about. Thank you.
Anything else?
On that, I just want to be clear that because of the conflict of interest situation, just so you understand, Robbins is part of our firm, and I represent Whiteland, same firm. We can't provide any assistance without consents from both towns. And so I'm on the sidelines until.
It's okay.
And I'm okay with that, because I'm a big, strong advocate saying that this needs to be a third party. I'm gonna just throw it out, no offense to you, but a third party. That way we have neither one of the attorneys from New Wyland or Wyland do it.
We got on Miss Lynn Gray.
I'm thinking third party, that way, as bias either way. But that's just something I'm saying, no offense to you, sir, I hope that you understand. It's just, I think it's best to keep that separate. If that's one thing we choose to do in 2024, it needs to be separate from our normal stuff.
I may or may not agree with that, but
I know.
You guys make the decision on that.
Well, I'm only one person, and maybe I'm making the wrong decision, but I gotta go with gut.
As of right now, we're not doing anything.
There you go.
I'm gonna ask somebody to give me a ballpark.
And just, you can call me on the phone, tell me, and then I'm good with that, because like I said, it's not gonna go nowhere, but it's still nice to know.
I'll let you guys know whatever Adam says.
Okay, that's all I ask, please.
Yep.
Are we done now?
I think so.
I think so.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank
Did we order pizza or anything?